Chapter 1, Nursing Today. As a profession, nursing is both an art and a science. Nursing as an art delivers compassionate care using respect for each individual patient. A patient for us as a nurse may be an individual, a group, or a population of individuals. As a science, nursing is based on a body of knowledge and evidence-based practice that is gathered through nursing research. So when you're looking at the concept of nursing, we're always putting our patients first. We as nurses are always thinking about professionalism. So we are professionals 365 days a year. That means that we are always accountable for all of our actions, whether we are on the job or we are not on the job. We are always responsible for all of our actions, both as a nurse and as an individual of the nursing profession. The healthcare advocacy groups that are listed, so the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, as well as the Institution of Medicine, these advocacy groups recognize the importance of the role that the nurse plays throughout the whole nation or the world's healthcare. Nursing care reflects both the needs and the values of the society in which we live, as well as it also reflects the nursing professional standards of care and performance. We as nurses are required to maintain our competency, keep improving our knowledge and our understanding of medicine today. We do this using critical thinking. Throughout your nursing career, you will begin the thought process of critical thinking, and you will do and make judgments without even realizing that you are doing so. When considering Patricia Benner's From Novice to Expert theory, a novice for her is a beginning nursing student, or it is a nurse that is entering a situation where they have no prior knowledge. An advanced beginner, this is a nurse that has some level of experience within the current situation. A competent nurse who is a nurse that has been in the same position for approximately 2 to 3 years. This nurse would understand the organization and the specific care that is necessary for the patient. A nurse that is proficient has been working in the profession of nursing greater than 3 years in the same clinical position. This nurse understands the patient's clinical situation as a whole. They are able to assess the whole situation, and they can easily critically think and transfer knowledge that they have gained from other experiences. A nurse expert, this individual has an intuitive grasp of existing or the potential clinical problem. This nurse is able to actually hone in on the exact problem and focuses on multiple situations. The nurse is skilled at identifying the patient-centered situations and problems related to healthcare system or even the needs of other novice nurses. According to the ANA, nursing incorporates the art and science of caring while focusing on the protection, promotion, and optimization of health and abilities. It's also on the prevention of illness and injury, the facilitation of healing, as well as alleviating suffering through compassionate care. The International Council of Nurses, they understand, and in their definition, they explain that nursing is an autonomous as well as a collaborative care of the individual patient, whether they are of all ages, families, groups. They can be sick and well, or they can be in multiple different settings. As nurses, we always promote health. We try to prevent illness, and we take care of individuals that are ill, disabled, and or dying. We as nurses use the nursing process to problem solve. Please refer to box 1.2, where you will see the following terms: assessment, diagnosis, outcomes identification, planning, implementation, and evaluation. This is the nursing process. You may remember this using the acronym ADPIE, A-D-P-I-E. As a registered nurse, assessment is where we always begin our problem. We want to make sure that we have gathered all of the information we need so that way we can thoroughly figure out what is going on with the situation or our patient. Next, we're going to analyze, or we're going to cluster that information so that we can use our very own nursing diagnoses, not medical diagnoses. We use nursing diagnoses to figure out how we can best aid this patient to gain their own health and well-being. Once we have chosen our nursing diagnoses, now we start planning, and we are looking at the possible goals for our patient. Throughout this whole process, our patient is involved 100% because the patient is part of the teamwork. So we have a goal for our patient. That is in our outcomes identification. When we are planning, we are thinking of the different steps that we may need to take to help our patient reach the goal that the patient and we have made together. Now comes the actual fun part. This is whenever we actually implement those steps that we have created with our patient to help them obtain their own sense of well-being. The last phase, even though it is listed as the very last phase, is evaluation. But here's the key with nursing. A nurse assesses all the time. We also evaluate all the time. We realize that if something isn't working, even if we're in the middle of a situation, we need to do a quick reassessment and think about what we're doing with our patient to make sure that we are enabling our patient to be in their best state of wellness. When you look at the standards of professional performance in box 1.3, you will see various terms listed: ethics, advocacy, respect, communication, collaboration, leadership, and so forth. Ethics is what we use as nurses to help us determine what is right and what is wrong within our practice. Advocacy means that we are standing up for that patient. Respect and equitable practice. This is where we talk about cultural competence. Okay, it is vital that we are culturally competent. That does not mean that you need to understand everyone's culture, but you do need to understand that everyone has a different culture, and that is part of our patient and providing good patient care. Communication. We need to make sure that we communicate with everyone, which is why we do excellent documentation. We will also communicate maybe with physical therapy, maybe with a physician, maybe with pharmacy. Collaboration. That is us working together as a team. Patient care is not a single individual's responsibility. It takes teamwork. That is why we collaborate. Leadership. As a registered nurse, it is expected that we perform leadership. Now, you may do leadership already and not even realize that you do this. Individuals that have children, you're actually being leaders. You're helping to guide those individuals. So if you look at leadership in that context, and you may be working with a peer, by you advising that peer on what to do, you are already performing leadership. For education, we as nurses are always to remain accountable to our profession, and we need to make sure that we are always advancing our education. Nursing changes daily, just with medicine, especially with medicine. For scholarly inquiry, this is where we as nurses do research. We're always curious, what can we do? How can we improve our practice? How can we help our patients? For quality practice, as a registered nurse, we help contribute to make sure that our practice is quality. Accountability and autonomy. So autonomy is part of an essential element of our professional nursing. This involves initiating independent nursing steps. Okay, as a professional nurse, you are autonomous within the nursing practice. Accountability means that we are responsible professionally and legally for the type of nursing care and the quality of nursing care that we provide. Nursing as a caregiver, we help patients either maintain their current level of health. We may help them manage a disease process and its symptoms. We may help them attain the maximum level of functioning and independence for them. That is nursing as a caregiver. As far as advocacy, we as nurses protect our patients' both human and legal rights, and we provide assistance in asserting those rights for individuals if they cannot assert them themselves. As an advocate, a nurse acts on behalf of the patient. For an educator, we as nurses educate our patients all the time. Anytime you have a patient and you are giving them information, you are actually educating your patient. It is vital that we continue to educate our patients whenever we have the free ability to do so. Communicator. So it takes effective communication. All right, you have to remember that when you have a patient, that patient may not be schooled like you are. You have to make sure that when you're communicating, you use terminology that your patient will understand. Don't start using medical terminology and the patient not have any understanding. You need to make sure that you are communicating at the patient's level. And as far as a manager, we as nurses, we help manage that care. So we manage and we collaborate. We make sure that everyone on the team for the patient keeps that patient first and foremost in their thought process. This is a quick quiz. I'm going to allow the slide player to just play for a moment. You read this, and the next slide will show you the answer. Here is the answer to the quiz question. All nurses, no matter what career path they have chosen, are providers of care. Okay, that is why we've all become nurses in our lives. Advanced practice registered nurses, there are 4 different kinds that are recognized by the National Council of State Boards of Nursing. As you can see there, the clinical nurse specialist, the nurse practitioner, a certified nurse midwife, as well as a certified registered nurse anesthetist. Each of these holds minimally a master's degree in the profession of nursing. The nurse educator, depending on the level of nursing that they are educating, they must hold 1 degree higher than the level of students that they're educating. So for example, if a nurse is educating a bachelor's degree student, the nurse must have a master's degree. If the nurse is educating a master's degree student, the nurse educator must have minimally a doctorate of nursing practice or a PhD in nursing. The nursing administrator routinely has advanced schooling. They are responsible for managing the nursing staff within a healthcare agencies. Oftentimes they may be clinical care coordinators or assistant nurse managers, and that is how these individuals will begin their path to nursing administration. A nursing researcher, this individual actually conducts evidence-based practice. They look at how can they improve performance, and they look at research to improve nursing care that will further help to define as well as expand the scope of our nursing practice. In this case study, you have an individual whose name is Ming that graduated with an associate's degree in nursing last year and received his RN credential. He currently works in a long-term care facility. Although Ming enjoys his work and has been promoted to a shift supervisor on his unit, he finds that he'd like to pursue a nursing career that offers a regular schedule and more autonomy. Ming considers returning to school for an advanced degree. Ming is particularly drawn to the idea of becoming an advanced practice registered nurse, also known as an APRN. So, looking at these options for Ming, which of these are advanced practice roles? The answer is B, C, and D. Research has proven that there is a direct correlation between the care that is provided by the registered nurse and patient outcomes that are positive. By using a registered nurse, it also helps reduce the complication rates for the patients. And it also helps the patient return to their optimal level of health and wellness. There are 10 actual domains that we as nurses practice under, according to the American Association of Colleges of Nursing, or AACN, AACN. These are our essential domains. One is our knowledge for nursing practice. 2 is person-centered care. 3 is population health. 4 is scholarship for nursing practice. 5 is quality and safety. 6 is interprofessional partnership. 7 is systems-based practice. 8 is informatics and healthcare technologies. 9 is professionalism. And 10 is personal, professional, and leadership development. These are the essential core competencies for professional nurse education. This is what helps guide faculty in nursing schools to structure and evaluate the current nursing curriculum. As nurses, we respond to the needs of our patients. We work on actively determining the best practice for our profession. So by you understanding and increasing the knowledge of the history of the nursing profession, this will also assist you in understanding the social and intellectual beginnings of our profession. Florence Nightingale. She is a nurse that every nurse should want to emulate. She is the nurse that established the first nursing philosophy that is based on health maintenance and restoration. She developed the first organized program for the training of nurses. It's known as the Nightingale School for Nurses at St. Thomas Hospital in London. She performed the first research for nursing. She had an amazing gift for being a statistician. Her thought process with nursing is that we need to make the environment conducive to creating the best health and wellness that we can for our patient population. Each of the individuals listed contributed to the knowledge base for the nursing practice. Clara Barton was the founder of the American Red Cross. Dix and Bickerdike, these individuals organized hospitals and ambulances, they appointed nurses, and they helped care for wounded soldiers during the Civil War. Harriet Tubman was active during the Underground Railroad period. She assisted in leading more than 300 slaves to freedom. Mary Mahoney is the first professionally educated African American. She was concerned with relationships between cultures and races. She brought forth an understanding and an awareness of cultural diversity, regardless of the patient's background, race, or color. Robb, she was one of the author of many different nursing textbooks, and she was also one of the founders of the American Journal of Nursing. Wald and Brewster, they opened the Henry Street Settlement. This settlement actually focused on the needs of the people that were indigent or poor, and they lived in New York City. In the 20th century, nursing moved toward being more research-based and scientific. This helped to define the body of nursing knowledge. This also allowed nurses to both expand their roles and go into advanced practice. Today, we have had to modify and change our curriculum for nursing because we need to meet the needs of society. We understand that through the advances of both technology and informatics, that nurses as a whole need to both be strong and have current knowledge of the nursing profession. The Last Acts campaign, this helped develop standards and policies for end-of-life care. As nurses, we routinely do not understand the importance of our own self-care. We take care of everyone and we put everyone's needs before our own. But in order for us as nurses to be there for our patients, we need to make sure that we take care of ourselves. So, are you eating a good diet? Are you exercising? Are you increasing your knowledge base of nursing care and nursing science? For healthcare reform and costs, this affects not only the way healthcare has been paid for, but also how we deliver the healthcare. There is going to be a greater emphasis on providing health promotion, disease prevention, and illness management in our future trends. It has been proposed by the Census Bureau that the population of the baby boomers by the year 2030 will be older than 65 years. This will increase the size of the older population. This means that 1 out of every 5 adults will become part of the elderly, the older generation. We as nurses also understand that depending on where an individual lives, some of the areas and some of our persons are not served medically appropriately. Oftentimes, hospitals, the further you come into a desolate or rural area, hospitals are further and further apart. That means it takes our individuals longer to get to a place where they can actually seek care. These individuals would be considered under the medically underserved. A core role for us as nurses is to make appropriate and sound clinical judgments. Clinical judgment to us is influenced by our critical thinking element and knowledge. Our knowledge helps shape our clinical judgment. This is used and seen by us using evidence-based practice. The Quality and Safety Education for Nurses, or QSIN, this is a project that is to meet the challenge of preparing nurses in the future and advanced practice nurses to ensure that they have knowledge, skills, and the attitudes necessary to continuously improve both the quality and the safety of nursing care. We know that in nursing today, with technology, especially the electronic health record, this is all impacting the way we deliver our health care. Genomics, this is a term that describes the study of the genes in a person and the interaction of those genes with one another and with that individual's environment. So genomics comes from the word genetics, and genetics is the study of the inheritance or the way the traits are passed down from one individual to the next. Thinking about the perception the public has on nursing. For the public, they view nurses as essential to providing skilled, specialized, and knowledgeable care. They also expect nurses to improve the healthcare status of the public as a whole. And they see nurses as ensuring that we provide safe, effective, and high-quality care. Nurses, through our own lobbying, are able to influence political power or persuade an individual holding a government office to exert their power to produce a desired effect. Becoming a registered nurse has 2 different ways to enter the profession. One is an associate's degree that can be approximately 2 years, or the other is a baccalaureate degree, and that is a 4-year degree. When you think about graduate education, this next step would be a master's degree, and the way that an individual becomes an advanced practice nurse. Our terminal degrees are doctoral degrees or PhD degrees. When you think about continuing and in-service education, continuing education for us as nurses in the state of Ohio, for us to actually renew our licensure, we have to have 24 continuing education units or hours before we actually apply or reapply for our licensure. In-service education, that is something that is gained on the job. Oftentimes a new piece of equipment may come into play and you would have an in-service on being able to use that equipment appropriately. Each state has their own Nurse Practice Act. It is ruled or overseen by the State Board of Nursing. So in Ohio, we are ruled or governed by the Ohio Board of Nursing. They tell the nurses within the state what they are permitted to do. They are designed to actually help protect the public, their health, and their safety and welfare. Today, each individual that is vying to be a registered nurse has to sit for the NCLEX RN examination. As far as certification, that depends on the specialty or the area of nursing that one is practicing. I will use myself as an example. There is what's considered as a CNE, or continuing certified nurse educator. That is a certification that a nurse can sit for once they have the appropriate credentials. A professional organization of nursing deals with issues that are brought up or of concern to the nurses that actually practice in the nursing profession. They can also organize educational venues. They may also publish journals. For you as students, there is what's called the NSNA, or National Student Nurses Association in the United States of America. The Canadians, or Canada, has their similar Nursing Students Association. These organizations both consider the importance of the nursing student, looking at things such as career development and preparation for licensure. If Ming decides to choose a career as a critical care clinical nurse specialist, or CNS, then his specialty is identified by what means? The answer is B, setting. The clinical nurse specialty may be identified by a population, a setting, a disease specialty, a type of care, or a type of problem. By choosing critical care, Ming's specialty would be identified by a setting. Professional nursing specialty organizations seek to The answer is D, all of the above. These organizations seek to improve the standards of nursing practice, expand nursing roles, and foster the welfare of nurses within specialty areas. In addition, professional organizations present educational programs and publish journals.